when you put that up there, like the price per win, it looked alien to me because I was trying to figure out that metric. I was going price per win. What are we talking about? Because my dumbass, I was looking at win, and then I was trying to figure out the acronym for win. I spent like 90 seconds going, what is this new win? What is a win? And I was like, oh, Jesus, price per win. Jesus Christ.
How we doing, everybody? We are Two Johns and a Mike.
It is another Sunday, and we are recording again. This is John. That's Mike. I'm John. We are Two Johns and a Mike. We got an interesting show here today, guys. I'm excited about it. I'm assuming after Mike and I had been talking on the phone, I think it was about a week ago. It's like, did you know that looks like there's a looming lockout after this next collective bargaining agreement through Major League Baseball? And I was like, you just heard about this? Coming for me, with my career and how invested I have to be within the discussions that are having. I've been talking about this for about a year now, but it seems like it's just coming now full circle to where all the fans are starting to hear about it. And I think this is going to be a really interesting discussion that everybody needs to hear. That if you're a fan of baseball, and all of a sudden you hear about this, how it's so deflating, and you want to know why. Like, what the heck is going on here? What do these players want? What do the owners want? Why does there have to be so much dissension? And I think a lot of it is arising after the big trade for Tariq Skubal with the Dodgers, where a lot of people are already mad enough about that. But that's not the reason that we're going into a lockout potentially next year. But it does push the needle that way. And I think that that is why the discussion is starting to come up a little bit more frequently. John, Mike, let me hear any questions you might have, and I would love to clarify some of the big ticket items that are on this CBA coming up.
And well, first off, I don't know why I'm just thinking about it now, but the Yankees and the Dodgers, get into the World Series, and not saying that they're not great teams and stuff like that, but those are the two biggest spenders in the MLB at the current moment. Am I correct on this?
I believe so. The Mets were up there. They sold off a bunch of guys.
The Yankees are always up there, but the Dodgers are quite a bit. Or I also was looking at what the Dodgers were spending compared to Milwaukee, who's doing better. I think Milwaukee's got a very good chance to beat the Dodgers for the pennant. The Dodgers are number one in spending. The Brewers are in the middle of the pack. Like the Dodgers are almost paying 3 times as much per win as the Milwaukee Brewers are. So
that price per win, that's something I had never even considered before you had brought that up, Mike. When you in our group text, when you put that up there, like the price per win, it looked alien to me because I was trying to figure out that metric. I was going price per win. What are we talking about? Because my dumbass, I was looking at win, and then I was trying to figure out the acronym for win. I spent like 90 seconds going, what is this new win? What is a win? And I was like, oh, Jesus, price per win. Jesus Christ. And then God, that's just not a metric I haven't.
Not a lot of people look at that. People always assume that money spent means wins, and that's not always the case.
No.
And actually, more often than not, it's not.
Well, yeah, you look at what the Padres have done in the past. I mean, they've had some really good teams, but when they have gone out and they've gotten frontline pitching, when they go out and get middle of the order bats and things like that, they still have found a way to lose to the Dodgers or somebody else. And even Arizona is in that discussion now where they're growing their own talent internally. I know the Dodgers are doing a really good job. Look, here's the thing. People are going to point the finger at the Dodgers and they're going to say, you're spending way too much money. You got to reel them in. They're deferring all this money for contracts like Ohtani's, which is allowing them to create more, to create more of a salary that they can pay on guys like Tariq Skubal, who they just traded for if they want to extend him. However, they've done an incredible job of spending money on their player development side as well. So they're not just going out and getting the best guys. They're going out and they're acquiring the best guys in the minor leagues, and they're drafting the best guys in the minor leagues, and they're also training them the proper way. So when the situation arises like this year, okay, how are we going to go get Scooble? Most organizations, if they want Scooble, they're going to have to give away half their farm system, which they're not willing to do because it takes a long time to develop and a wealth of players. Well, the Dodgers have it every year. So every single year when they go to the deadline, it's like, okay, well, what do we have? Well, all right, let's open up the the treasure cabinet here and just dish out whatever we got, because we have so many prospects that everybody wants. And then when they come in, well, we got Scooble. Okay, we also have the money and we're willing to pay it because there's no cap, and we're just gonna restructure his contract the way that it makes the most sense, so we can pay him this year. And moving forward, now we have Scooble, Glass now, freaking Ohtani, and all these other guys that nobody else is able to get. And everybody, I know we've been discussing some heavy topics today, but please remember, like, subscribe, follow, please. If you like our content, we would like to keep producing that content for you. And the only way we can do that is if you go through those following steps: subscribe, like, follow, please, because we love getting on the mic and talking about this every Sunday. This is a lot of fun, and we want to continue having fun doing this.
Mm-hmm. So for me, it's always been on the player development side, where in my opinion, all the spending should be. Even the richest teams, and this goes across all sports for me, just because I've never been like a big believer in, just because you spend 5 times as much, your team is 5 times as good, because it just, you don't know how the guys play together. You don't know, how superstars, interact with different coaches. There are so many different factors in that. And I always go back that, just recently, that documentary that they did recently about, it wasn't the Dream Team one. It was the one, it was about U.S. basketball, and they had like the best players on the planet on the team, and they couldn't
still
win
lost,
internationally,
like Croatia or something like that.
Yeah. And it's finding the right people to wrangle all those guys together, get them to play together, get the attitudes.
Well, your opinion is justified, John, because you look at what the Yankees have done over the last. Classically, they've spent the most money over of anybody, right?
Right.
They haven't won a World Series since, I think, 2009.
Yeah.
And since then, that was all guys that they raised internally for the most part, other than I think A-Rod and Teixeira came from Texas, or I have to fact check that. But you look at Jeter came up internally, Jorge Posada came up internally. We can edit that if I'm wrong, please.
So I think we're getting a little off topic, though.
Yeah. But there's so many times when I always point to A-Rod. They paid A-Rod so much money, and he didn't perform like he was supposed to when he
was
came
pretty
over
good,
to the Yankees.
I'm
not saying he was good, but
he was still a top 5 shortstop, left side infielder in the world. The rest of the time he was there. He was really good.
I think the problem with A-Rod wasn't that he wasn't good; it's that they couldn't afford anyone else to be around him.
Yeah,
well,
that's
the thing. That's what we're talking about. Is they still went out and paid guys. You look at that roster. They had even Robinson. They went out and got Robinson Cano. They went out and got who was in their outfield at the time. I mean, there was a couple guys like Gardner was I think came on at the tail end of that, where he was internally grown. But they still had a bunch of guys in there that they went out and paid. That's the whole problem that the CBA is about to talk about. Is when these organizations want guys, especially when they hit free agency, it's like, okay, where are they going to go? Everybody's waiting to go see when you're going to be a Yankee or when you're going to be a Dodger. Okay, that's what they're waiting for. And a lot of these other organizations have stepped up. And so, okay, the Mets started spending, but they put together the wrong roster. And that's why they stink every year. Even though they have superstars, they're laden with superstars from top and bottom. The Padres were the same way. They went out and started getting a bunch of superstars. Just didn't matter. You know, when they got Moncada and not Moncada, but Machado and but they traded for Tatis, but they paid him. Either way, like you see these other teams are trying to do it. Dodgers are the only ones that are doing it really well, but it's because of their information that they're giving them. It's the way that they're, developing their essentially their positioning, their game planning, just the information in general. The wealth of information they give is more, it's more directed in a way where it's going to help the players on the field, and it's going to put you in a position to win better than guys who are just, okay, well, here's the best players, roll the balls out, let's see what happens.
Right.
No, they're doing a really good job of developing game plans as well. But that kind of rolls into the whole point of why are we going to have a lockout next year? Is because the league believes that if they add a salary cap, it will eliminate the ability for clubs like the Dodgers to go out and get all the best talent. And if they add a salary floor, it will force all of the owners that don't want to spend money, i.e. like the whole Moneyball situation with the A's, the Pirates, everybody else, it will force them to spend a certain amount of money. So I think the salary cap is ridiculous, but I think the salary floor is a great idea.
I'm with you on that. I'm more interested in the salary floor as opposed to a cap.
I believe that's more so from the players, because the players in their minds are thinking, okay, well, the owners are trying to increase their bottom line by capping off players. But why should we be hurt? But we the players, in I'm speaking from that tense, why should we the players be hurt? Because these guys won't spend enough money to make these teams relevant. So now, why is it my fault that I'm worth, $500 million? You're going to tell me I'm not because it's not competitive enough. And now these owners have a healthier bottom line, so because they don't have to pay. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, let the people pay as much as they want to pay because they can. Okay. Well, force the other owners to pay a little bit more. And I think that's more of a compromise right there. I don't know what you guys think.
I have a question. And I think this is a question for most fans. We just went through a shutdown and a lockout. Why wasn't this addressed then? Why is it coming up now? Because we just had a lockout. So
it wasn't, you're right. It wasn't that long ago, and it almost killed baseball, which is what everybody's probably worried about now. There's not going to be okay. So here's the thing. That's what created the strongest union in the world. Baseball has the strongest union on the planet is because they won that lockout back in '95, was it? When the Sox and the Expos were the best two teams in the world, which was that was the worst because the Sox actually had a chance to go win a World Series that year. But it wasn't addressed back then because it couldn't be, because the money wasn't so astronomical. So when I was with the Dodgers in 2010, we were talking about going into the CBA in a couple of years. I forget when it was. It 2012 or 2011. I forget. I think it was 2011 that CBA was happening. So every single year, the discussion from the Players Association would be, okay, hey, look, there's going to be some tense situations here. We don't know what's going to happen. Don't make any huge purchases here, and here. But you'll be protected up to so many years with this percentage of pay because we've allocated those resources to situations just like these. Well, you could see the writing on the wall back then that salaries were going up and up and up each year. Just kind of like you look at the NFL, where each year a quarterback makes the biggest contract. He gets the biggest contract in history just because he's the best, like he's the most available quarterback at that time. Right. So that in order to protect them, they have to up that salary every single time they sign or extend that quarterback. The same thing is happening within baseball, where the contracts are going to get bigger because people are going to want to secure their assets, and they're going to have to meet to what the next level of pay is going to be. It was started to go up so steep to the point where you get all of a sudden Ohtani comes in, and I forget the exact number, but it's something like $600 million over the course of 13 years or something like that, where 90% of it is deferred, which that's another issue that we'll talk about. But they have to spend that much money because that's just the price you have to pay. But we kind of saw this coming back then. Like, okay, in 2 CBAs from now, the salaries are going to be so big based off of the trend right now that this is going to be an issue that is going to be brought up. And I think that's where we're at, is the owners are like, well, we're not going to pay that much, but we need to be able to compete. So the Pirates owner is going to be like, well, I'm not able to spend $500,000, right? Or sorry, $500 million. So something's got to happen. Okay, well, sorry, bud. If you put a salary cap on this, you're going to run into an issue where the players are just going to strike, and this is where we're at. There's a lot more issues, but this is the biggest one that's on the docket.
But there was a strike, 2-3 years ago?
No,
that they had a lockout. They had games were delayed. There was, I remember talking to you about it.
You mean COVID?
Not the COVID. I mean, there was. We just went through some. Am I suffering a Mandela effect or something? Like we just
went right
through
before COVID.
No, it was right after. It's like 2-3 years ago. We had a stoppage. Everything was it wasn't the full season, but they pushed back spring training. They had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I thought they missed a couple of games.
No, last strike was August 12th, 1994.
It wasn't a strike. It was a lockout.
Work stoppage was the owner imposed 21-22 lockout, which did not cancel any games. So yeah, there was.
It delayed it, right?
Yeah, it delayed.
It just kind of.
They didn't have training camp.
Yeah. So I suppose the. Yeah, hold on one second. Let me research it because I was
okay.
there.
So that was. Oh, okay. So it happened in 22.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's something similar that Congress would do. It was like a continuing resolution.
Yeah.
They agreed on like a 5-year collective bargaining agreement, and that's coming to an end.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly. So, okay. So, you know what, John, you're, Michael, you're absolutely correct. I must have had short-term amnesia because I was there for that, and we had the minor league camp going on. And then all of a sudden, when the major league teams came back, it was like, all hands on deck. The reason that I didn't pay as much attention to it because I was working on the minor league side, and it was business as usual on the minor league side. So it was actually better because when we were there, we usually have to share the facility with the major league team, and then everything that the minor league side does gets pushed back to the convenience of the major league team, rightfully so. But it was like business as usual. We were running big league camp, like big league spring training hours the entire time. It was like, man, this is kind of nice. This is before I was working with the major league team routinely. So it was kind of nice.
So to answer my own question, they basically kicked the can. They didn't resolve the issues. They came up with something temporary. They kicked the can, and now we're at the can.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what happened, John, or Michael. And they... Yeah, my bad. So that's exactly what they did. And I remember having the discussion back then. I was like, ooh, this next CBA is going to be ugly. And everybody's like, yeah, it's going to be really bad. And the reason they kicked it down the road is because of it was off the heels of COVID, and they were trying to figure out what everything was going to look like. Now I remember that. It was ugly. It was going into an ugly situation then. And they're like, well, we can't lose this season because we just lost last season. So we may as well push this. We'll make it a 5-year collective bargaining agreement. And then now here we are. Ain't going to be good. I'm assuming there won't be a season next year.
So I also remember you mentioning, because I think we've covered the salary issue to death, but you also mentioned a couple of weeks ago that they may get rid of one of the minor leagues. Is that still on the table? Explain how that plays.
I know that that's one of the discussions, and I think I'm not exactly positive. I have to kind of go in and look at why, but there's a couple of things that they were talking about doing. So number one, this might be the last year. The last draft might be the last year that there's going to be ability to draft high school players, because I know the draft and draft compensation. A bunch of those issues are it's on the docket. Any other year, this would have been a much bigger deal, but this year it's just kind of buried under the big topic items, which are the salary cap, salary floor, contract negotiating, the length of free agent, or sorry, not the length of your rookie contract, the amount of time before you're an actual free agent, because right now I think it's 6 years before you're a free agent. If you're under your rookie contract, is 3 years, and then you go to arbitration, then you have a second arbitration, and then after that you can get into your free agency. So by the time, a lot of people don't even last that long, so they want shorter contract terms so that people are free agents faster. That's one thing. And then, hold on, let me look at my notes. I wrote a bunch of this stuff down. But hold on, what's the other thing? There's revenue sharing is really close to the top. That's they kind of want to change how the money moves, between high and low revenue clubs. Right now, if low revenue clubs are given a X amount of some sort of agreement, there's no guarantee that they are going to spend that on the players. So
that's a problem.
There needs to be more rigorous guidelines to how they are able to allocate those resources.
If I was one of the wealthy teams and my money was going to pay for the less wealthy teams and they weren't spending it on the player, I would be pissed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the biggest thing, because some of the low spending teams, they have money. Like, I hate throwing the White Sox under the bus, but they have resources, they have money, and look at the highest compensation they've ever given a free agent is Benintendi, and it's like $76 million, something the Dodgers would pay on a fourth infielder or something like that. So there's no guarantee with these resources that they're actually spend it on the team, which that is criminal in my mind. But if there's a little bit, and people point the finger at players like, oh, how much more do they want? They have all this money. Like, well, how much more do the owners want? They're billionaires.
Yeah.
And now you're going to sit here and bitch and complain that my team isn't any good?
Yeah.
Well, spend the goddamn money. Let's go.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I can understand it from a owner perspective, though. It'd be like, if I'm the Dodgers, the Yankees, one of the guys spending money, and then you're taking money from me for revenue sharing and giving it to the lower teams, and they're not doing it to improve their teams, then you're just stealing from me. That's just, I wouldn't go along with that at all. But that's an owner versus owner issue. But
right.
I don't think there's a lot of sympathy for a fight between a bunch of millionaires against billionaires. The fans just aren't going to care.
No, of course they're not. It does look like a petty swallow. That's why, because salary cap keeps coming up. It's always the biggest issue, and now it's become such a big issue because of the size of the contracts that it's going to lose a lot of public interest. And I think just the discussion that you guys are having right now is like, well, who gives a shit? Go play the game. You're all millionaires, right? Mm-hmm. Well, for them,
I can understand.
The players don't see it that way. I mean, and by the way,
and they shouldn't. And they shouldn't.
Exactly. If I'm worth something, I'm owed what I'm
worth.
worth.
Yeah. Go get your bag, fam. And my view has changed. My view has changed with that, like, over the years. One of the reasons it changed is because, like, in the football game, like the running back position. Once upon a time, the running backs was the thing. Now running backs trying to get a contract to get paid what they're worth for completely destroying their goddamn body.
Right.
Is pathetic. It is pathetic.
Well, and the style of the game is dictated that the running back can be filled by roles that aren't big time. Like, there's no more Adrian Peterson. There's no more, sweetness. There's no more Jim Brown, because the scheme allows for a plug and play type situation, which I don't fully agree with. Like, you get a Le'Veon Bell, like, you look at Ben Johnson's scheme right now. It allocates, well, not allocates. It's designed to create gaps for certain types of players.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it works. So it's like, okay, what do we need DeAndre Swift for? Well, we want him because he's a workhorse and he's a great guy and he's very talented. But in all reality, you could take Tariq Cohen from years ago and you put him in the same situation. He probably is effective. That's why it's like, okay, well, we can go out and get a running back in the 5th round. We know they're going to be beat up in 3 years. Their knees are going to be good. We'll kick them to the curb. And they're like, hey, you know what? I want what there should be rules behind that for these guys because of the amount of pain that they're putting themselves through for later in life. You ever seen Jerome Bettis try to walk down the stairs?
Yeah, it is.
He has to
it's
take
painful to watch.
Vicodin just to get from his room down to his living room. Like there should be compensation for that. That's ridiculous. There
should be compensation for this is just me. To something I've been crowing to the wall about for like 15 years. The way, and this is all in all sports, the way players are misused, like how versatile a running back can be. You can give him the ball, send him down the middle. You can keep him in the backfield and throw blocks to protect your quarterback. You can put him around the end and nobody's covering him and you can throw that ball to him. It drives me nuts, like how the value has dropped as the versatility has grown, and
exactly,
and I hate it. So like in baseball, go get your bat, because also the billionaires, and I'm not getting like an anti-billionaire.
Let's not go down there. Right?
I'm not going to, but they make so much goddamn money on so many different things. And all of that is on the backs of the players. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10.
They are also making money off the likeness of players. Now, there's licensing agreement stuff that is part of this discussion too. But the players don't get all of that money. The likeness of players, they're also the owners are making money off of the likeness of these players as well. So we're not. The owners are making money off of literally everything. Yes, they're paying for everything. So there's a certain amount of respect that has to be put on that idea. Like they're paying for everything. And it is a privilege to be paid in the position that you're in, but you are still should be able to be paid what you're worth. And I will never come off of that.
I'm with you.
Exactly. And that, to me, and this is not really switching gears, but it's going to come back to a point that you made earlier, John, or maybe it was you, Michael. You were talking about the development. That's where all the money should be going, right? Okay, well, a good portion of that should be going. But the way I see it is you develop enough players, you develop the right kind of players, and the reward is the fact that we can pay them whatever we want to keep them. That's the way I see it. Obviously, it's different when you're going to be able to go out and acquire a bunch of guys. But if you develop the right players here, like and I'm describing the Dodgers right now, okay? They develop the best players, so everybody wants them. Now these players can go out and they can make as much money as they want with whoever they trade for, right? Or they can come back, depending on what happens later in their career. But if I develop Mookie Betts internally, which they didn't. Obviously, the Red Sox developed him, and then he went to the Dodgers. But let's say I developed Mookie Betts internally, and he's finally come to fruition, and we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Mookie Betts is here. I'm going to show him the keys to the front door. Here you go. Here's your $200-300 million contract. You earned it, and we earned it for developing you. Yeah. I think that's what it should be there for, and I don't think there should be a cap on that. I think you should be able to pay as much as you want. It's like if Brooks, my son, if I raise him to be this incredible human being and he hits 20 or he hits 16 and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go buy him a Maserati because I have that much money. Well, somebody's going to come in and tell me, no, he has to start with a Ford, Nova or something like that because because you're not allowed to spend that much on something that you developed. That's the way I would correlate it, dude.
I think there's a way you could do that. But we're not just talking though, if you're talking, not all this is just about salaries, because you're talking about like the salary cap, you're talking about structural changes to the league. And the teams themselves are not equal in that.
Right. And this has gone on for so long, John, like the player control situation, contracts, contract negotiation situations, arbitration situations, the way you structure contracts with what the Dodgers do they're deferring their money, that is going to be negotiated.
That needs to be.
Yeah, I think that does need to be, like, that's a loophole that they've exploited, and good for them. Hey, you know what? If you're smart enough to do it and you have the resources, hey,
I think if you're going to do something like that in order to get rid of the games, you need to tie the contracts to ticket sales. You need it. The money has to be coming from stadium revenue or ticket sales or advertiser revenue for the thing. It can't be from other stuff, because that's not
it kind of is. Okay, I think you're right, but the TV deals is where everybody gets their money, and that's what we've talked about before, is where in 2010, when the Dodgers were bankrupt with Frank McCourt, we hit a point where they wanted to make it appealing, so they were basically almost taxed as a bankrupt team. So they were giving a bailout by the TV deals, which the TV deals are like $9 to $10 billion back then. And it's even more now. The Dodgers are getting an astronomical percentage of that. They're making, I think last I looked, it was like $365 million a year just off of the TV deal. Next closest is the Yankees, who are like 160. So they're getting $100 million, or I think it's $150 million more than the next closest team, which is the Yankees. So their entire roster can be completely paid off every single year just by the TV money. So
that, and the way they're doing the TV stuff I got a whole podcast on the streaming stuff.
We can talk about that later. But that's the structure. That's the situation that we're in. And yeah, you should get more resources based off of your viewership, which is why the Yankees have classically been the top. And once they restructured that deal to give the Dodgers that much more money because they were broke, it just opened the door for these guys to come in, because they were trying to make it appealing to sell the team. And all of a sudden, this team I think they are from Chicago, actually, they come in, they got billions of dollars. They slap, Magic Johnson's face on as the core of this thing, even though I don't think he even put up that much of his own money. These guys all did everything behind the scenes. They're all billionaires. They're like, okay, we're going to spend whatever we need to. They gut the stadium. They go out and they get the best players available, and then they find the best way to train them. They find the best way to give them the best nutrition, everything else. They invest in their guys, and I can't tell you that they're doing it wrong, because they're doing it within the confines of the rules that are already there. However, if you try to change that, you're gonna have all the players up in arms, unless you force everybody else in the league to spend more money. I also have another idea, and I heard this on a different podcast, but I have been actually preaching this for a while. There's two ways that you can make the rest of the league kind of catch up. Okay, number one is what we just talked about: salary floor. Force the owners that aren't spending enough money to spend more money. So that's option one, which that's going to be a really tough talking point. Option two is you expand the league by two more teams, and you have it like it's structured as the minor leagues are. It's two halves of the season. So you essentially would have the winner of the first half and the winner of the second half. So those are the two teams that are in the playoffs now. That way you can have two playoff races, or two pennant races basically, and two trade deadlines. So the first half of the season, what was it, 82 games or whatever, or 81 games or whatever it is. So 81 games, sprint to the finish right there. So there's no resting your players. You know what I mean? There's no down the road, I'm up 10 games. No, you win the first half, you win the second half. So now you make it very interesting for every single team. Now your smaller market teams that start real hot, that fizzle out right around All-Star break, all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. So we can go out and we can start making trades, and we can start looking at what the roster is going to look like down the road. You expand the rosters too. So now you have more jobs, more players. Now that salary floor looks a little bit easier.
Here's something outside of the box. But what if you adopt something that they're doing in England, that the two worst teams get relegated to the minor leagues, and the two best teams in the minor leagues get promoted up.
Hey, I don't mind that idea. That'll never happen though.
We had this conversation.
What if the Yankees suck one year? You think that the TV deals are going to allow the Yankees not to be in the major leagues?
Well, they're going to have the advantage. They got to get relegated.
I'm telling you,
that would never happen.
There is so much. There's so much pressure on those soccer teams over in England. I mean, because it's humiliation plus, like, you're losing like lots of cash, like
so
lots
much
of
money.
Cash. Like,
but that's an incentive for the teams to spend the money.
Yeah, and
100% it is. But
there is a collective freak out. Like a couple of years ago, maybe it was last year, maybe it was the year before. Manchester United, one of the best known names in the Premier League, they were having just a horrible season, and I don't think they were going to get relegated. But once you get down, like, in the ranking, once you get down, like, when you're in like 10 to 20, everybody goes, "Oh, you're getting relegated this year," and we're like, "No, I'm not getting relegated." And then money starts flowing, and yeah, exactly.
You might.
And
but they would never allow that to happen here.
Yeah,
I wish it was an option, but it's just not.
There just has to be a way to get the smaller teams to invest better into their thing instead of just using it as a cash cow and taking it out, because it hurts the sport. Yeah. But I'm also curious because this isn't the players pushing a minimum cap, is it? Or this has got to be the owners?
Oh, it's the owners. Yeah, it's typically the owners, and there's got to be a meeting.
But I can't imagine the owners are all in alignment on this.
That's a good question. I would assume that I would bet you that the Dodgers ownership group, that they don't want this, because they're like, well, we have a great system going on. So they're
right. But do you think the A's want it too? I mean, the A's or the White Sox people aren't paying the most. They don't want it. So who's pushing this?
No, those are one of the teams that will be pushing it, because they don't want these guys to take all the players away and be able to spend whatever they want. So put a salary cap.
They got to increase what they're paying the players when they could do it now.
But the thing is, they're probably looking at their bottom line and thinking, okay, if we can get away with this, the no salary cap, and I don't know what those actual conversations are looking like behind closed doors. However, I know there's a give and take. If there's a salary cap, everybody's going to be spending the same amount. Okay.
Yeah.
But the salary floor, like, are we really going to have to spend that much more? We're going to have to spend more anyway.
So most
in order to be relevant, I'm going to have to spend more anyway. It's not like those players are just going to go elsewhere because they're going to want to be in LA. You still want to be in LA. You still want to be in New York. You still want to be in Chicago.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
How does it make it appealing for now? Okay, well, I'm going to offer you even more to be in Oakland. Who the hell wants to live in Oakland? What's going that because they're not even getting enough people. Like even Seattle, which is a better team. Nobody wants to go to play in Seattle because nobody's going to be watching you. Like there's a devout viewership up there, but it's located in that one region. It's very located to that region. Nobody else in the world is watching Seattle. So
plus in Oakland, you're paying those California taxes.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's a different cast altogether. But like nobody's going over there. So how do you make
hits it takes to a player? And like the average Joe Schmo's like, well, I don't make that much. Well, a ball player does. They feel those taxes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I was once there. I mean, you're still making a lot of money, but when 52% of your salary is being taken away because you're playing in LA as opposed to Florida, where you're going to keep everything, that is like back when I was playing, it was, I think the league minimum was like right around $500,000. So we were making a right around $85,000 a month. And yeah, you look at your, I mean, look, this sounds really ignorant to the fan. It's like, oh, I'm making this. When you get over the fact that you've made so much money in one check, and you look and see how much you could have made, where it's $40,000
just because of where you live.
Yeah, you like $40,000 in 2 weeks, but I only cleared 17,000 of that. Like, wait a minute. Everybody's going through this. It doesn't matter how big your check is. Like, obviously, there's different tax brackets, but like people are still getting out in California. I'm trying to, as hard as I can, to go play for the Marlins, or something like that. It's way more appealing. I don't know. It's wild. I know we got a little off topic there.
So when it comes to like caps and floors and things like that, there's there's two conversations that need to be happening. That this lockout can't happen because it will kill
it's going
baseball.
to, but
It will kill it. And baseball
it's
is already on a
enough right now too. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's fragile
It was
enough,
already
even though it's
on a
on the comeback.
downswing. It was on the downswing, and they're experiencing a great comeback that I didn't see coming. I was like, man, they're good. But I want to say thanks to the Dodgers and the
Dodgers are one of them,
and the Yankees.
Well, the influence of Japanese baseball is huge too. And the contracts that they are like, there's another reason that there shouldn't be a cap is like, what if I want to go out and get the next best thing? There's a couple pitchers coming out of Japan right now that are going to demand some money. There's another slugger too. I can't remember their names right now, and I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce them if I could. But what are we going to do if they're going to stay in Japan now? Because they're going to make a similar salary. If we want to bring these guys over to the biggest stage in the world, number one, don't shoot yourself in the leg. Let this go. Figure out the fine details of the bottom part of this, and make sure it makes sense to make everybody's team better. But also, don't hamstring us and disallow us the best players in the world because they have no incentive to come over here. You know what I mean? Like Ohtani, Murakami, Yamamoto, all these guys, they've increased the viewership of this sport tenfold. And that was a big part of it. The international play was huge. They did a great job of marketing that. So now everybody on both sides, but on both coasts, they have all these new fresh faces, and the development of everybody's gotten so much better. So you get you have this wealth of young superstars. We're right on the cusp of coming back, and we are. But now you're going to sit here and you're going to fight, you squabble over the scraps off the table. Just let it happen and make sure it's the best quality product and stop worrying about who gets what. Figure it out. Make it better. And whatever that means, spend the money on that. Because if you don't, you are ruining one of the greatest sport on the planet, in my opinion.
I can understand the floor. I think that's a must-have. That teams wouldn't be investing money in their development of their players to be competitive and stuff. That just, to me, that's just things they don't belong as an owner. Just because you're not doing what's good for the sport, what's good for everyone. Yeah. So I can understand a floor thing. If you're doing a salary cap, it's got to be a salary cap with some teeth, and it's got to be tied to something. Like every other sport I know that has a big salary cap, it's based off of the revenue generated by the league. I think there's a certain percentage that, like of course, the NFL has like sharing for everything. They have the biggest share of everything, but then they say this is how much we generated last year. This is what the salary cap is based off what we did. Yeah, well,
the NFL also has the weakest union of any sport, and they screw their players worse than any other sport across the board.
Yeah, but
as well,
I mean, that's a completely different topic as far the salary cap versus how you're treating your players. I mean, I'm just saying to get through this mess. And if you're going to do a salary cap, you have to do it. The games the Dodgers doing can't exist. I mean,
but to get through this
come
mess,
up with a solution to it.
It's either to get through this mess, Michael. It's either yes or no. It's either going to happen or it's not, and that's where everybody's foot is going to be in the dirt. They can't, like you said, if there's going to be a cap, it has to have some teeth to it, and it has to have some defined structure, and that will carry us through the rest of the foreseeable future before we're all dead and buried. It's going to be the same exact construct, right? But if you don't, it can't be there at all, because it can't be a gray area where teams are able to manipulate rules, because you're going to find somebody smart enough to find a loophole and still spend as much money as that somebody else is not able to do.
And if it can't be there at all,
or no. What?
If it can't be there at all, then there's got to be something for those teams that aren't spending money on development to do it. There's got to be something to make them do that.
Salary floor makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but you can't do a salary floor without a cap. So if everyone puts their foot down and says there's no cap, then there's no floor. There's got to be another way. There's got to be if you don't meet this standard, we're going to fine you and put that to the rest of the teams, or there's got to be something to force the teams that aren't spending on player
that's
development
kind
to
of
do
what
it.
my idea of the two halves of the season, as opposed to a full season marathon of build up of games. Like if you put a half and a half, you have a lot more availability for teams to get hot and get into the playoffs. And if
I
once you're in
don't
the
think that's
playoffs,
going
you
to
can,
go well with the fans. I just don't.
not at first, but I think once they see it happen, just like I said the same thing about the introduction to ABS and the introduction of the automated or the challenge system. I was so against it at first. Like, you need to have the human error, but all of a sudden you start seeing it implemented in AAA, where I think the full ABS is pretty shitty. But I think that the challenge system is extremely entertaining. In game, it's just like tennis, like, oh yeah, and the fans are going crazy for the challenges, right?
I think the logical conclusion of that, is, why are we playing 2 seasons, 162 games? No one's got time to commit to that. If we're going to cut it down and have 2 half seasons, why bother having a second half? I think that's the way the fans.
Because that's how you determine. The rest of the playoffs.
I think one of those seasons is going to get tuned out by the fans.
I don't think it will, because there's incentive, because now you structure it this way. So if you win the first half and you win the second half, now you're the 1 seed going into the playoffs. You get your bye or whatever it is. If you win, if you win both halves, and then the next best overall record, that's how they do it in the minor leagues. The next best overall record wins that second divisional bid, and then your wild card would be kind of structured. There's no wild card, obviously, in the minor leagues, but you would have to structure it in a different way, where the next best records after that are in the playoffs, right? They're the wild cards, and they battle it out against your 1 and 2 seed. So the 1 and 2 seeds could have the buys. So you're still playing for something on both halves in order to get the bye in the playoffs. Or if one person wins the first half, one person wins the second half, then it kind of puts everybody else at disadvantage. It gives you home field advantage. There's a lot of different ways to play this, and it is interesting no matter what. Plus, now you're paying more attention, just like we talked about with fantasy baseball or fantasy football and things like that. You're like, I'm going to be watching the Pirates because they're making a really good run for this in the second half. And they might actually be a 2 seed here, because they're going to win the second half. So they're the 2 seed, where, guess what? It doesn't matter what their overall record is. They won the second half. So they're the 2 seed because the Cubs are the 1 seed, right? And now it's the entire league that's involved in this instead of just your division. You see what I'm saying?
I think if you're going to do that, you're going to have to get rid of wild card teams.
No,
I just don't. I don't see.
You're not going to have a full team playoff, John. Michael, it has to be the same size playoff. You know what I mean? It goes by record, but you're battling to see who's the. So realistically, if the Pirates got hot, say they were the worst team in baseball in the first half, they still have a chance to go to the playoffs in the second half and be the 2 seed if they win that half. So now you get the Cubs, who have, they won 97 games. They're the 1 seed. They won both halves or whatever. But in the second, or they win the first half. But now in the second half, the Pirates get hot. They win the second half, but they only have 70 wins, but 50%, a high percentage of those are in the second half. They're the 2 seed with 70 wins, where the Cubs had 90, and then 2 other teams behind them now would have more wins than them, but they didn't win the half. So those races become extremely interesting.
Is this a serious conversation?
Absolutely.
within the league. Like,
no,
is
I don't
this
think it is,
idea?
but I think it should be. Because I know we do this. This is what happens in the minor leagues, and it's extremely, extremely exciting. It's extremely exciting.
This is
in the
done
middle
in
of the year. In the middle of the year, you're going to have a pennant winner.
Oh, that.
And then at the end of the year, you're going to have another pennant winner, and you could have 2.
How many games do the minors play?
In A ball, I believe it's 122. In Double A, it's 132, and I believe in Triple A, it's closer to like 150 now. But it's structured where the seasons are shorter at each level, or longer at each level. I know Triple A kind of mirrors the Major League season. They're pretty close. They're not exactly 162, but I think they're like 150 or something like that.
It's probably because of my age, but I do like this idea, just because once upon a time pennant races were so goddamn huge. It was it was so
That
like
was big.
getting the pennant. Nowadays, you can say pennant to somebody, and they'd be like, "What?
They would have a
What?
clue.
What is?"
The wild card is what killed it.
Yeah, the wild card did kill him. No, I'm really interested in that. Let me think on that bit because, and also like that, like deciding home field advantage. It's a lot better idea than tying it to the
Exactly.
All-Star game.
If you win one of the halves, you get home field advantage. Like if you're the 1 seed, then you get home field advantage all the way to the World Series. But if you're the 2 seed, then you have to beat the 1 seed. Well, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an interesting idea. I think it would add viewership eventually. Maybe not at first. People would be up in arms. Oh, it's not the way it's been done. But guess what? A lot of things weren't the way it's been done. We never thought we'd see robot umpires, right?
Well,
we never thought we'd see replay.
It's never been the same since interleague play. I'll die on that hill. So
exactly. And
so for me, all bets are off.
Like the DH altogether.
And losing the DH.
We lost the pitcher hitting altogether. We lost so much throughout the last recent future. So if we're going to get it right, let's get it right in a way where it at least makes everybody excited. And I think this is not a bad idea.
It reminds me. I don't know. I don't know if either of you guys ever watched Futurama, but Futurama is a cartoon. It takes place like 3,000 years in the future, and they have like a baseball episode, and the rules have changed so much. Like you watch his baseball game, you have no idea what's going on.
Remember that? Fry's looking at it. He's like, "What the hell am I watching?" He was trying to. I was like, "No, that's I remember that episode. It was really good." Yeah.
So, man, I hope this lockout doesn't happen. I hope they can figure it out because
you really hope it, but then I just don't see a way around it because it's come to it was going to come to a head like back in 21-22 season when like what Michael was talking about. Then they kicked the can down the road, made it a longer bargaining agreement, hoping that they would be able to meet ends with an extra year because they're always 4-year agreements.
What was this? Was this the same issues in 21-22?
It was the same issues in 95.
Oh.
It's been the same issue, but this is a buildup to the point where, like I said, the salaries have gotten so massive that they're like, we're not going to spend that much. The gap is so much between the lowest and the highest.
So what's to prevent them from kicking the can again?
The fact that if they do, God, who knows what we could be looking at? We could be looking at teams offering, which you look at what they did with Mahomes, where they offered him shares of the team. You get like a 2% shareholder. He holds 2% of the entire team's earnings with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Royals, I believe. So it's like, what if teams start doing this? They find loopholes like that, which actually is not a terrible idea.
They gave him a pice of the Royals?
The Royals as well. Yeah.
You can only do that for so long before you don't have any piece to give out.
Yeah. I don't know if he bought that part of it or if they just gave it to him with his most recent contract. But I mean, if you're going to secure Patrick Mahomes, you're going to spend that much money, right? Well, the same thing goes with what the Dodgers do. There's just more players, which adds to your. Well, there's not more players. There's more of a revolving door of players that are actually substantial. Like if you look at football, you're going to pay your quarterback an astronomical amount. You're probably going to pay your left tackle an extremely high amount. You're probably going to pay your best edge rushers like Miles Garrett, and these guys. Like you're paying a ton of money to probably 4 key positions. Everybody else is going to get status quo. You look in baseball, every single position has potential to earn a $500 million contract. So you could be looking at your roster like the Dodgers are with Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Shohei Ohtani, Tariq Skubal, Tyler Glasnow, Diaz, the closer. Like you can get Mookie Betts.
What is their? Let me look this up. What is the Dodgers? What is their team, but their player budget per year? I'm trying to think of the right term. That's right. right? The player
The salary.
the roster salary. So
let's see. It is
so what it is like in
410 to 429 million a year. Estimated luxury tax billing around 180 million, but that doesn't seem to matter for them because luxury tax has not done what people thought it would do to these teams. You know what I mean? Which would bind, we would kind of put a hand behind the back if they spend that much money. It's not happening, obviously, and I think a lot of that has to do with the deferred salaries and stuff like that. So, the penalty bill following deadline additions is 180 million, but their estimated payroll is between 410 and 429 million for just this year, which actually I want to say 70% of that is covered just by the TV deal. So they're coming out of pocket, what 100, not even about $80 million, $90 million out of pocket.
So that's the majority of the revenue are the TV deals. It isn't like ticket sales and shirts and licensing and hats and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
that's
So
interesting.
Shohei Ohtani, $70 million a year total value, but with 28.2 adjusted payroll because of heavy deferrals. Kyle Tucker, 33 million. Blake Snell, 36 million. Tyler Glasnow, 30 million. Mookie Betts, 30 million. And it keeps going.
I just called up the top 5 Major League Baseball player payroll. So in total, the Los Angeles Dodgers are spending $407 million. Next is the New York Mets at $359 million. So that's like a $52 million gap. Next is the New York Yankees.
Imagine paying $390 million to suck.
No,
that's $407 million. And then the New York Mets are paying $359 million. The New York Yankees are $310 million. The Philadelphia Phillies are $290, and the Toronto Blue Jays are $287.
Yep.
That's the top 5 payroll.
What's that Mets holiday that they celebrate every year?
Oh yeah, Bobby Bonilla Day. Because they deferred all of that contract, so he's getting paid $1 million a year until 2052, I think. Something like that.
I have a buddy who's a Mets fan. I send that to him every year.
Yep. Happy Bobby
Bonilla
Day. Yeah. It's so good. Oh well. Hey, Michael, I just want to keep you posted on this. I made $540 last night on a $5 home run parlay. So you still want to kick betting to the curb?
What was the parlay?
Not for sports betting.
Here, hold on.
The only betting I do is parlay?
Let me pull it up because I put this in randomly and I forgot about it, and then I opened up my account and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Let me log in real quick. I'll tell you, it was a complete shot. I like doing this because my big thing about my because I like to do home run parlays the same way I do touchdown parlays, but home run parlays are a hell of a lot harder to hit than touchdown parlays, even though they're valued about the same. It's easier to tell who's gonna hit or score touchdowns than it is to hold on one second, to hit home runs, because hitting home runs is the hardest damn thing to do in the world. And you're going to sit there and say they're valued the same as scoring touchdowns when you can probably estimate a little bit easier who's going to score touchdowns. But let me bring this up.
Well, yeah, because you could pitch right down the middle and there's still only a 30% chance they're going to hit the ball, let alone a home run.
This was $540 on a $5 bet. It was Brandon Love, 1 home run, Bryce Harper, 1 home run, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 1 home run. Each one of them hit a home run last night, so that cashed out. I think that should be I think those odds should be higher. I think it ended up being plus 10,700 or something like that. I think that should have been a plus $20,000 bet. But that's just me because I'm selfish.
The only gambling I do is stocks and crypto, and we all know about my thoughts on those.
Speaking of home runs, did you guys see that home run that PCA hit to Rizzo?
Oh yeah, that was hysterical. That was really
hysterical.
Cool. And it was hysterical that Rizzo's just sitting in the bleachers with the boys. That guy's
with his kid.
Yeah,
like
he's such a cool
holding
dude.
the kid in one hand and getting the ball in the other.
You guys would love that. I mean, he's one of the coolest guys you'd ever want to meet. We had a lot of fun today talking about this. I know it was a pretty heated discussion. Not heated, but a very important discussion that we just had. A very in depth. This was something that I think the general public needs to hear about to create their own opinions, and we could probably go into more depth of what we just talked about. There's a lot more issues that we didn't even get to scratch because of the big ticket items. But great talk today.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have a lot more content, I think, coming in. I'd like to hear what viewers think about what we're talking about here. I would love some interaction here. If we can get some, answering questions would be a really fun thing to do if we can get some questions rolling in from the fans. But that being said, gentlemen, another successful day. Big Western, Filthy Casual. I'm the Baron Von Eli. We are Two Johns and a Mike, and we will see you guys next time. Cue the music, Michael.